There's something endlessly fascinating about B-movies. They're weird, wild, often stitched together with duct tape, and more importantly, they're filled with passion. Behind every shaky camera, every bit of questionable acting, behind every outrageous plot twist, there's heart, the kind that the big-budget films honestly sometimes lack. These are some of the B-movies that were different from many others. From killer turkeys to crime-fighting cops gone rogue, these films carved their own place into cinema history, even if it's not a, very big place. So let's dive deep into some of Hollywood's strangest corners and celebrate the top 25 B-movies ever made. Oh, and before we begin, hit that subscribe button for more marvelous videos, and don't forget to leave a like if you're having fun.
Let him go, Cordell!
Maniac Cop, 1988. Imagine what happens when the person sworn to protect you becomes your worst nightmare. Maniac Cop takes that exact fear and turns it into a pulpy but great urban horror classic. The film follows a mysterious police officer who stalks the streets of New York, killing innocent civilians. As panic spreads, Detective Frank McRae and Officer Jack Forrest try to uncover the truth, and they discover that the killer, Matt Cordell, is a wronged cop who was resurrected from beyond the grave. Directed by William Lustig and written by Larry Cohen, this film is pure 80s grit. It's part slasher, part noir, and completely unhinged. Featuring Bruce freaking Campbell and Tom Atkins, it became an instant cult hit. Maniac Cop spawned sequels, inspired comics, and even caught Nicholas Winding Refn's attention for a modern remake. It's a kind of chaotic brilliance that proves that B-movies sometimes do more justice to our fears than big-budget thrillers ever could. Chud, 1984. Few titles tell you exactly what you're in for, quite like Chud, which stands for Cannibalistic Humanoid Underground Dwellers. Yep, the story takes us beneath New York City, where homeless people have mutated into flesh-eating creatures thanks to toxic waste. It's a grimy, dark, and absurdly entertaining movie that's exactly what a B-movie should be. Directed by Douglas Cheek, the film features an early appearance from Home Alone's Daniel Stern and John Hurt, and despite its cheap effects and over-the-top premise, Chud cleverly tries to integrate social critiques into the film, like class, neglect, and government corruption. The monsters are for sure goof, but the atmosphere is surprisingly creepy. It's no wonder this film became a midnight movie favorite and earned references in The Simpsons, Rick and Morty, and even Us by Jordan Peele. Not bad for a movie about sewer cannibals. The Blob, 1958. Before Steve McQueen was a Hollywood legend, he was just a teenager running from a giant blob of goo. The Blob is one of the most iconic B-movies ever made, with a simple premise that works perfectly. A meteor crashes near a small town, releasing a gelatinous creature that absorbs everything in its path. The film is a mix of sci-fi and horror filled with pure terror, but what makes The Blob special is how it takes this absurd concept and executes it on a serious tone, trying to keep it grounded. The people in the film actually feel real. The pacing builds tension, the creature effects have an unexplainable eeriness to them. The film became a surprise hit and remains a cornerstone of classic monster cinema. It even inspired a surprisingly solid 1988 remake that leaned into gore and Cold War paranoia. Sometimes all you need for a perfect B-movie is a simple idea and a hungry blob.
Are you okay? What did that man want from you?
Nothing.
The Room, 2003. Few films are so utterly terrible, yet so hypnotically unforgettable as Tommy Wiseau's The Room. What was meant to be a serious romantic drama turned into the ultimate accidental comedy. The story, if you can call it that, follows Johnny, his fiancée Lisa, and his best friend Mark. The three are in a very strange love triangle filled with bizarre dialogue, green screen rooftops, and football tossing in tuxedos. Wiseau wrote, directed, produced, and even starred in He made it with utmost sincerity, which brought it full circle and made it kinda brilliant. The audience didn't know what to make of it at first, but over time, The Room has become a cult phenomenon. There are midnight screenings, quote-alongs, and even James Franco's The Disaster Artist, which cemented its place in pop culture. It's the kind of B-movie that transcends failure. We laugh at its absurdity, but deep down, we love that it exists.
Kristen, he's...
Thanksgiving, 2008. Every holiday deserves a horror movie, and Thanksgiving makes sure that Thanksgiving gets one, even if it's hilariously terrible. This micro-budget slasher follows a foul-mouthed demonic turkey on a killing spree after being resurrected by accident. That's it, that's the plot, and that's exactly why it works. Directed by Jordan Downey and made with just $3,500, Thanksgiving revels in its stupidity. The dialogue is outrageous, the effects are cheap, and the humor is so bad it becomes brilliant. And what makes it stand out is the filmmakers' total commitment to the bit. They knew exactly what kind of movie they were making, and they leaned into it hard. It's become something of a Thanksgiving tradition for B-movie fans, and it proved that you don't need a studio budget to create something memorable. All it takes is one killer turkey puppet with attitude. Forbidden Planet, 1956. Long before Star Trek or Star Wars, there was Forbidden Planet. This sci-fi gem transported audiences to another world, literally. Loosely inspired by Shakespeare's The Tempest, the story follows Commander Adams and his crew as they land on Altair 4 to investigate a missing colony. There, they meet the mysterious Dr. Morbius, his doctor, Altaira, and their iconic robot, Rob. But beneath the futuristic setting and dazzling visuals lies a psychological twist, a manifestation of human desire and fear. Forbidden Planet was just way ahead of its time. It blended philosophy with psychology and tackled the human mind. It had cutting-edge special effects that changed the sci-fi genre forever. This film's influence echoes through classics like Star Trek, Alien, and countless others. It might have been labeled B for its budget and genre, but Forbidden Planet played like an A-list classic in every way that mattered. The Toxic Avenger, 1984. Troma Entertainment's The Toxic Avenger is what happens when superhero tropes meet pure insanity. The story is set in the grimy town of Troma. It follows Melvin, janitor who falls into toxic waste and mutates into a muscle-bound vigilante. Armed with a mop and a sense of justice, Toxie generally deals with bullies, crooks, and corrupt politicians. Everything in the movie is gross, gory, and gloriously over the top. Directed by Lloyd Kaufman, The Toxic Avenger became an instant sensation. Its fame inspired sequels and spawned cartoons, comics, and even a Broadway musical. What started as an experiment turned into an underground phenomenon that championed the underdog. It's the kind of movie that generally shouldn't work, but it does, and ultimately reminds us that even the weirdest heroes can find love, purpose, and a fan base that refuses to die. Them, 1954. Back in the atomic age, every creature was growing larger, and in them was ants. Giant, terrifying, radioactive ants. This 1954 sci-fi thriller kickstarted the big bug subgenre that dominated the mid-century monster movies. The story follows scientists and soldiers trying to stop the enormous ants after nuclear testing mutates them into city-leveling monsters. What makes the movie stand out from its counterparts is its eerie atmosphere and a surprisingly serious tone that's executed effective. The performances, especially from Edmund Gwenn and James Whitmore, elevate it further. The film perfectly captures the Cold War paranoia and tells about the fear that humanity's own creations would turn against it. With its clever mix of science and suspense, this movie crawled its way into pop culture history, and even decades later, those haunting desert scenes and the sound of those chittering giant ants still disturbs us to our cores. And this movie stands out as one of the classics, even with the simplest of stories. Troll 2, 1990. The movie is called Troll 2, but there aren't any trolls in it. Just goblins, and that too vegetarian goblins who turn people into plants before eating them. That alone should tell you everything you need to know. Directed by Claudio Fragasso, Troll 2 became a legend for all the wrong reasons. Wooden acting, nonsensical dialogue, and effects that aren't even close to decent. But it's not impossible to have fun watching it. The story follows a family vacationing in Nilbog, and yeah, that's goblins spelled backwards, when they uncover the town's horrifying secret. The movie's complete sincerity in its absurdity makes it a masterpiece of unintentional comedy. Its cult following exploded after the documentary Best Worst Movie, turning Troll 2 into a beloved disaster piece. It's a great reminder to everyone that cinema doesn't always need to be perfect. Passion and heart are all that's necessary, even if they're hilariously misplaced. Nilbog forever.
Stop right there.
Shopping Mall, 1986. Welcome to the Park Plaza Mall, where the real sales begin after closing time. Shopping Mall takes the 80s mall culture and adds killer security robots with malfunctioning AI. It follows a group of teens who party overnight, find themselves in an absurd situation where laser shooting machines are hunting them. Directed by Jim Wynorski, it's pure B-movie gold. It's snappy and full of exploding heads. It's got everything we want, from neon lights to bad decisions to unfiltered chaos. The effects are low budget, but they work well for the tone, and the pacing of the movie holds strong. What makes Shopping Mall work is how self-aware it is. It actually knows exactly what kind of movie it is and goes full on with it. Decades later, it remains a cult favorite and a perfect snapshot of 80s camp done right. It shows that the sale never ends, but neither does the screen. The Sniper, 1952. Now, before serial killers became a thing in Hollywood, The Sniper delivered one of the first psychological portrayals of a murderer in American cinema. Directed by Edward Dmytryk, the film follows Eddie Miller, a lonely, disturbed man targeting women with a rifle from the rooftops of San Francisco. This movie is very grounded, and it's even empathetic in its depiction of mental illness. It's filmed in a shadowy noir style with aesthetic and tense realism. The Sniper explores urban alienation and the cracks in America's post-war optimism. Despite its low budget, the movie has an immense influence, which can be felt in later thrillers like Taxi Driver and Maniac. It's a rare example of a B-movie that dared to say something meaningful long before the genre was taken seriously. The Sniper is quiet, tragic, and way ahead of its time. Samurai Cop, 1991. Yet another film with a great amount of glorious incompetence is Samurai Cop. Directed by Amir Shervin, this low-budget action flick stars the ever-earnest Matthew Karedas as Joe Marshall. He plays the role of a Los Angeles cop who's trained in the ways of the samurai. The plot is simple: stop the evil katana gang, but the execution? Far from it. There are many disasters, from random wigs to dialogue that sounds like it was translated twice. Samurai keeps on giving the viewers. Yet somehow it's irresistibly fun. The resulting chaos makes it feel like lightning in a bottle, perfectly illustrating how a bad movie can become an entertaining watch for passing time. And over the years, the film has found cult fame for its unfiltered absurdity, hilarious one-liners, and the unforgettable chemistry between Karedas and Mark Fraser. The Incredible Shrinking Man, 1957. Jack Arnold's The Incredible Shrinking Man begins as a pulp-style sci-fi adventure and ends up as a poetic exploration of existence itself. After exposure to a mysterious radioactive mist, Scott Carey starts shrinking, first millimeters, then inches. Soon his own house becomes a deadly jungle where a cat, a spider, even a water droplet are mortal threats. And what makes this movie timeless isn't just the impressive special effects, but also the unique narration that questions everything from identity and purpose to our place in the universe. By the time Carey accepts his fate, smaller doesn't mean less, the film transcends its B-movie roots. It's a haunting and spiritual movie that is endlessly rewatchable. In the decade of atomic monsters, The Incredible Shrinking Man turned inward to introspect on what life is, instead of turning it into something it wasn't meant to be. Detour, 1945. Detour might be the purest noir film ever made. Directed by Edgar G. Ulmer on a very low budget, it tells the story of Al Roberts, a down-on-his-luck pianist hitchhiking to California to reunite with his girlfriend. But fate has something else planned. Chance encounter, a dead man, one ruthless femme fatale later, Al's life spirals into a night. With a runtime under 70 minutes, Detour wastes absolutely nothing. Every shadow, movement, and line of dialogue drips with dew. Tom Neal's anxious narration and Anne Savage's unforgettable performance make it feel claustrophobic and real. And the film's rough edges actually enhance its fatalistic tone, turning technical flaws into atmosphere. Detour is proof that you don't need big stars or budgets to make something timeless. Just a good story and a cruel twist of fate are all that's required to draw in viewers. Gorgo, 1961. Before Hollywood got its hands on giant monsters, Gorgo gave Britain its own kaiju legend. Directed by Eugene Laurier, the film follows salvage divers who capture a towering sea creature off the coast of Ireland, bring it to London for profit. But there's a twist in the tale. Gorgo isn't the real threat. Its mother, which is much larger, soon emerges from the ocean to reclaim her child. It spectacularly flattens everything in its path, including the city. The film Gorgo is very different from most modern counterparts of the genre. Instead of pure destruction, there's empathy, tragedy, and a maternal rage. The special effects, while cheap now, are creative and surprisingly good, especially for that era. Often overshadowed by its Japanese counterparts, Gorgo remains one of the most heartfelt creature features, which explores themes of exploitation, nature's vengeance. It's a rare B-movie that roars with both spectacle and sound. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1956. Don Siegel's Invasion of the Body Snatchers remains one of the most chilling sci-fi allegories ever made. Set in the town of Santa Mira, it follows Dr. Miles Bennell as he discovers that his neighbors are being replaced by emotionless alien duplicates grown in pods. At first sight, it might seem like a great suspenseful alien invasion thriller, but underneath, it's pure paranoia in cinematic form. The idea that people could look the same yet lose their humanity hits hard in an era of conformity and fear. Minimal effects, maximum dread. That's the beauty of this film. Please read it however you like politically. The thing that Body Snatchers taps into is universal anxiety. Very few B-movies have inspired as many remakes and homages as it has. Even today, this film echoes through pop culture like a ghost of the past filled with paranoia. Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, 1958. Attack of the 50-Foot Woman is often remembered for its absurd poster of a towering woman crushing cars beneath her heels. The movie actually has a surprisingly feminist story. It follows Nancy Archer, a wealthy but emotionally abused woman. She encounters an alien and grows to gigantic proportions. Then, fueled by rage and heartbreak, she begins to ravage her cheating husband and the corrupt townsfolk. Directed by Nathan Duran, the film's effects may not be that special today, but the core of the film, a woman literally too big to be ignored, still resonates. What began as a low-budget trial has aged into a sly commentary on gender roles and empowerment. Attack of the 50-Foot Woman proves that even the most over-the-top B-movies can carry serious subtext under their spectacle. Hard Ticket to Hawaii, 1987. If the 80s were a fever dream, then Hard Ticket to Hawaii is what you'd see in it. Directed by Andy Sidaris, this wild action film completely ignores logic and shifts its entire focus to rocket launchers, bikinis, and a killer snake. The story? Two DEA agents try to stop a drug smuggling ring in Hawaii, but the plot is just an excuse for never-ending mayhem. Exploding dolls, nunchuck fights, and the now legendary razor-edged frisbee scene make this a cult treasure. There's something endearingly confident about how seriously the cast plays their roles, even when the movie itself feels stitched together from 12 different genres. Sidaris didn't just make a wild action movie, instead created a whole aesthetic of palm trees, chaos, and camps that still goes hard today. Hard Ticket to Hawaii feels like it's an unfiltered time capsule of what cool once meant in the VHS era. Birdemic, Shock and Terror, 2010. Birdemic, Shock and Terror might be the most famous so bad it's good movie of the 21st century. Written and directed by James Nguyen, it's a romantic thriller, at least in theory. It's about a young couple whose love story is interrupted when killer birds suddenly begin attacking humans. The CGI birds flap like gifs, the sound cuts in and out, the acting feels rehearsed in the take, yet somehow you can't look away. Nguyen's sincerity, and more importantly, absurdity, give it a strange magic and ultimate comedy. It's one part Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds and one part just like a regular PowerPoint presentation. Not even a really good one, just a regular PowerPoint. And what keeps it alive is the sheer joy of watching someone chase their vision without irony or self-awareness. Birdemic proves that earnest failure can sometimes be oddly inspiring, funny. Carnival of Souls, 1962. Carnival of Souls is one of those films that's quiet, eerie, deeply unsettling. Directed by Herc Harvey on a tight budget, it follows Mary Henry, a woman who survives a car crash, relocates to a small town. There, she begins to be haunted by ghostly visions and an abandoned carnival. There's a hypnotic, dreamlike quality to it. The haunting organ music, the empty streets, and that pale, grinning man who seems to follow her long before The Sixth Sense or Jacob's Ladder, this film explored liminal spaces between life and death. It's one of those those movies that slipped through the cracks upon release but later influenced generations of filmmakers. From Lynch to Romero, Carnival of Souls feels like a bad dream you can't shake off, and that's its brilliance. It's the kind of horror that lingers in the viewer's mind, making it unforgettable. Sharknado 2013. By the time Sharknado hit the Sci-Fi Channel, audiences were well past taking B-movies seriously, and that's exactly the reason why it worked. Directed by Anthony C. Ferrante, this movie does what it says on the tin. A tornado full of sharks attacks Los Angeles. This movie is dumb. It's really dumb, but it's absolutely aware of it and even embraces it. That's the point. Ian Ziering's stoic heroics, along with Tara Reid's deadpan delivery, somehow make it even funnier, and what began as a meme became a pop culture phenomenon, spawning sequels, cameos, and even red carpet premieres. Sharknado didn't try to pretend that it was a great movie. Instead, it celebrated the chaos itself. It's the movie equivalent of a wink to the audience that sometimes we want to see sharks flying through the sky, and it turned irony into entertainment, proving that movies like these can be great, especially when they embrace exactly what they're meant to be. Kung Fury 2015. Kung Fury isn't a throwback, but a love letter written in neon. Directed by, written by, and starring David Sandberg, this 30-minute short film caught attention online with its perfect mix of absurd comedy and over-the-top action. The plot is something we might think up in our dreams. A kung fu cop travels back in time to defeat Hitler, aka King Fury. That sentence alone says everything. From arcade machines coming to life to Viking babes fighting dinosaurs, Kung Fury embraces most 80s tropes and cranks them up to 200%. The result feels like the coolest VHS tape you never rented. Every frame is drenched in synths, lasers, and sheer joy for a bygone era of pop culture excess. What makes it work is Sandberg's genuine love for the genre. Kung Fury isn't a parody, but a celebration, wrapped in slow-motion kicks and pixelated glory. Hell Comes to Frogtown, 1988. Hell Comes to Frogtown isn't just weird, it's something much more. Starring wrestling legend Rowdy Roddy Piper, this post-apocalyptic gem imagines a future where most men are sterile after nuclear war, except for one, Sam Hell. Naturally, the government sends him on a mission to rescue fertile women from mutant frog people. Yeah, really. The absurdity levels are off the charts, making it hilarious. The film is even surprisingly confident in its world building. Piper plays it straight, which only adds to the fun. The frog creatures, achieved through practical effects, look better than they have any right to. Along with all the insanity and satire, it pokes fun at the control that is established in a dying world. Hell Comes to Frogtown is the kind of movie you stumble upon late at night and can't believe it exists. Yet, by the end, you're glad it does and that you watched it. Stranger on the Third Floor, 1940. Before The Maltese Falcon and before Double Indemnity, there was Stranger on the Third Floor. Directed by Boris Inkster, this thriller is often hailed as the first true noir film. It stars Peter Lorre as a haunting drifter suspected of murder. The story follows a journalist whose testimony sends an innocent man to death row till guilt and paranoia consume him. What makes it special is its expressionist style. Distorted shadows, claustrophobic sets, fever dream sequences later define the noir genre. Every frame feels drenched in anxiety, expressing post-depression cynicism and showing moral ambiguity. While short and modest in budget, it set the template for decades of noir that follow. Flawed men, femme fatales, and the sense that justice is never clean. Stranger on the Third Floor is the whisper that started one of cinema's greatest conversations about guilt, fear, and fate. Marvelous Verdict. When we talk about B-movies, we expect them to be absolutely absurd, over the top, and so out of place that they irritate the viewers. But just for a change, reflect on the passion that drove the filmmakers who dreamed bigger than their budgets allow. All these films captured imaginations, not by being perfect, but by being and feeling alive. They remind us that creativity doesn't need polish to shine, it just requires creative freedom, no anchor weighing them down. And that's how we got the eerie elegance of Carnival of Souls and the unintentional comedy of Birdemic. Every one of these films carries a raw honesty. They broke rules and defied logic, but built on what they wanted to show the audience, which they would never expect to see in cinemas. And that's what makes them timeless and sometimes marvelous. That's all we got for you this time, but if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Otherwise, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.